Welcome. Welcome to another Kohatsu Cave of Games. My name is Nathan Kohatsu, and today I've got a pretty special treat. I've got to talk about a new game that is on Kickstarter called Ground Floor. It's the latest game to come out by Tasty Minstrel Games, makers of Eminent Domain and Belfort, among others. I got an opportunity to sit down with the game's creator, David Short, and Seth with Tasty Minstrel Games a few months ago. Played the game, and they let me take the final art prototype and play it with my wife, play it with a bunch of my friends. I got a lot of group sessions in. I've personally played it about, I'd say, 15 or 16 times now. Half of those have been with my wife, and the other half have been with various game groups. I won't go too much into the gameplay details. I'll go over a very brief overview of the game itself once I bring it to the table. So essentially, Ground Floor is a worker placement game. It takes everything that I like about worker placement games and puts it into a new theme and kind of tweaks some things, and I really like it. Essentially, you have the limited worker placement like Kalis or Agricola, to where everything's very tight. There are multiple spots every turn that you can take, but when you're playing with other players, they might take that spot. You have a limited number of resources. Things really don't automatically generate in this game for resources. If you want it, you have to take the spot to get it. So if you want to get victory points through building buildings, then you have to take that spot, but it opens up other spots for other people. It works well, just like any other worker placement game. The big thing that I really like about this game is, I'll show you when I get to the table, but there's a popularity track that determines player order. And in most games, there's one thing that you do to determine turn order, or it's predetermined. But in this game, you can actively compete through 3 different spots to place workers to compete for first place. So it can get very heated, and it is a very good way to advance in the game. But there are strategies associated with, if there are a lot of people competing for popularity, then you can kind of sit back and take everything else and try to win that way. There's a lot of different paths to victory. It's pretty neat. So with that said, I'll just bring it to the table. I'll show you the prototype that I have. All of the art is pretty much final. But there are some graphical and wording errors that have been caught and have been fixed for the final version. But I'll give you a good idea of what everything kind of looks like. So without further ado, let's just go to the table. Okay, so here we are at the table. The board game will be pretty much this size. Setup for this game is actually pretty easy. You'll just set out the board game. You've got a couple of cards and markers up here. You'll set all of the money and all of the information that you'll get through the game off to the side. And then everybody will get just their starting stuff. Everyone gets a starting blueprint. They'll get their own little clipboard that shows all of the tenant improvements and floors that will be available during the game. If you look really close, it'll tell you which phase they come out on. Phase 1, 2, or 3. That correlates with rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9, respectively. So when you set up your construction company, only items that come out during phase 1 will have to be placed out first. So setup is very quick, and you can jump right into the game. The game basically will revolve around your board. When the game starts, you will have 6 available actions to take. and you have your little CEO guy who represents the first employee of your company. This first employee nets you 4 time markers that you will start the game with. The whole basis of the game is that you'll spend these time markers as your worker placement. So if you look here, everything is very excellently done in iconography, but you can basically see that if you go here to the meeting room, you will spend 1 time marker to get 1 information. So if that's something you wanted to do, then on your turn you can perform that action and spend 1 time in the meeting room, and you'll get 1 information. That is the basis of the game. I'm really not going to go into specific turn order. David has a very nice video that kind of depicts how to play the game. So I'm just going to go and give a very general overview of, there are places on the board where you can send your guys, just like there's places in your personal board to send your guys. These 6 spots are available for you, as well as all of these spots here. The spots out here is where the game gets extremely competitive. The game is based on victory points, and a majority of the victory points are derived from buildings. So this construction company becomes very important, and every turn it is first come, first serve for the buildings that come out. So it's a very competitive spot. Likewise, the retail outlets is how you get your money. So what I'm trying to explain is that there are a lot of different options that you can take, and they are all of a very high priority. So in the case of a 2-player game versus a 6-player game, it is very equal. It is very competitive. There's not that much that you need to change to make it an enjoyable 2-player game. The construction company only builds 1 of each type of item, so that in itself becomes very competitive, because you really want to go there first to get the building that you're looking for, but you also really need first pick at everything else. So some people might complain or say that there's just a lack of options, but I believe that with repeated plays, once you really know how the buildings interact, it does play very well with 2. In all of my game testing, I have seen that it plays best with 4 people or 5. Game length becomes an issue with players that I play with. I personally like longer games, meatier games that are like 2 to 3 hours. That's what Ground Floor clocks in at with 6 people, is about 3 hours in my repeated plays. But that does turn off a lot of people. So I'd say the sweet spot is, if you want to introduce this to your just regular gaming group, 4 people will take about 2 hours, 2.5 hours for your first playthrough. Everything is very much defined on the board already, so you can point things out and describe things as you go. But if people have particular questions on how things work, it pretty much describes right on the board how everything resolves when you conduct business. Like I said in the intro, the advertising agency is where you go to rank your popularity. Popularity determines player order. So in the midst of doing all of these different options, you also have to deal with maintaining your status for turn order. So that just throws another wrench in the mix of all of the stuff that you have, plus what you're trying to do on your own little player board here. All in all, I really, really like Ground Floor. I would fully support it on Kickstarter. I would back it myself when it comes out. If anything else, from what my wife says, is the visual aspect looks really, really cool once you start building up your workplace. So say, for instance, when you start the game, you get a random specialty. So I just drew retail. When I played the game with David and Seth, I said I was the maker of Snuggies. So my Snuggie empire slowly grew. And as your empire grows, your building rather grows, it starts adding on floors. And visually, if you're walking around a table and you start seeing all of these cool looking buildings starting to build up, it is pretty cool looking. I have to admit, it is pretty cool. The graphic design is pretty awesome. So here I am with 2 empty floors, and I'm starting to fill the floor spaces up. Sorry. So say I've got some HR in my Snuggie factory now because, dang it, I need more workers quicker. I need to pump out those Snuggies. So you can have as much fun as you want with the game, or you can be as serious as you want, but it just lends itself to the theme. I do have an electrical contractor background, so I am kind of biased to building floors and tenant improvements, but I really do enjoy the game. So that's pretty much it for my quick little preview of all of the art and all that stuff for Ground Floor. I know I skipped a lot of gameplay mechanics. It really wasn't the purpose of my video here. I really just wanted to get the message out that it is a really good game from somebody that has play tested it for quite a bit now. Very special thanks to David and Seth for letting me play, and Michael for letting me play repeatedly with all my game groups and getting a really good feel of the game. I would highly recommend that you do back it if you are a fan of worker placement style games that are heavier in nature. But if you are used to games like Kalis or Agricola or La Havre, this will fit right into your collection perfectly because it is a very unique theme. It does bring a lot of unique game components, and it does have a wide range of player support from 2 to 6. So all in all, another great game from Tasty Minstrel, and I can't wait to see what you guys come out with next. See you later. This is Nathan Kohatsu with the Kohatsu Cave of Games.